Due to the clear, present and imminent danger of breach of peace, the government notifies the public that, for the time being, we will not allow demonstrations within the central business districts of Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, Matiangi said. The main opposition, which has held rallies calling for electoral reforms and the sacking of vote officials, said it would take to the streets again today and on a daily basis from Monday, despite the ban. The protests are covered by the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. We do not hold the protests as a favor by the state, Onyango, the spokesman for opposition leader Raila Odinga, said. The protests have seen hundreds of opposition supporters march through the streets, sometimes burning tires and clashing with police who have used tear gas to disperse crowds. We will continue with our demonstrations as planned across the country. The law is very clear on peaceful demonstrations, said one of the coalition's leaders Moses Wetangula. Though relatively small, the protests have caused outsized disruption, forcing shops to close up and deterring some from visiting city centers on demonstration days. There have also been incidents of pickpocketing and muggings on the edges of the protests. Minister Matiangi said the protests had resulted in attacks on police stations, attacks on police officers occasioning grievous bodily harm, serious disruption of normal business, assault on innocent civilians, destruction and looting of property. He threatened legal action. It is the responsibility of the organizer that all participants remain peaceful. The organizer shall be held personally liable for any breach of law during the demonstrations, he said. Politicians and activists from all sides have traded insults and accusations since the court ruling, raising fears of a repeat of the ethnically charged violence that killed around 1,200 people after a contested 2007 vote. President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose August election victory was annulled by the court ruling, is due to stand again against Odinga on October 26. But this week Odinga announced he was withdrawing from the race because of failure to reform the election board. The board responded that the vote would go ahead anyway with the names of Odinga and the other original candidates on the ballot paper. At least 17 demonstrators were hospitalized on Wednesday with bullet wounds and other injuries, said medical workers in Kisumu, an opposition stronghold. The opposition has accused the police of using excessive force, while the government has accused the protesters of destroying private property. Reuters saw footage of a crowd attacking a police officer with stones and sticks during protests in the western town of Homa Bay, near Kisumu. Marius Tum, the Homa Bay police boss, said 14 people had been arrested and would be charged with assault and participating in unlawful assembly. Odinga's spokesman Onyango did not immediately respond to a request for a comment on the incident.